You feel me? The way they portray prison, like on movies and little listen, bruh, nah. You know what I'm saying? And then my mom's, God bless the dead, you know what I'm saying? My mom's was like, baby, just don't mess with nobody and nobody ain't gonna do nothing to you. You feel me?
It don't work like that. Right.
What? No, bro, like, you got to click up with somebody.
Yeah.
You can try to play the cut and be chilling by yourself if you want to. You feel me? But if your hands ain't on that level, that ain't happening. And you gotta understand, man, like, I was a kid, bro. You know what I'm saying? So here I am, 14, in a cell with dudes that's 27. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah. So it was a brother in that name, I don't want to say his name. Brother had 99 years, bro.
Damn.
You feel me? Like when they give you your, like every month, they give you like a paper and they have like your release date on it. So the brother release date was 9/9/99. I mean, like, he ain't never getting that. You feel what I'm saying?
So they just, oh, damn.
Bro, and here you go with 3 years sleeping next to somebody that ain't never getting that. You feel me? So when people be like, oh, they don't try you, no sexual stuff, and bro, all that's a lie. That's how I got stabbed. You feel me? Like when they came in my room, bro. Excuse me. But yeah, you know what I'm saying? So, like every night, bruh. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't sleep, bruh, to this day. Like, every night, bruh. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't sleep, bruh, to this day. Feel me? Like, every night, bruh, it's like, you know what I'm saying? Just like flashbacks, you feel me? So, they came in my room, they took my bunkie, snatched him up out of there, you feel me? And did what they did to him or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So he came back in the cell, I'm reading the Bible. I'm reading the Bible like this, bro. I'm like, spook, you feel me? So he get on the top bunk. Like way back in the days, man, the bunks were made out of springs. So I just hear the springs moving, bro, like, I'm like, dang. I'm like, bro, that nigga up there, like, man, fool must be crying or something. Like, I don't know, bro. I'm so scared, bro, just being honest, man. You know what I'm saying? So I lift my head up, dude standing in front of me, man, like, he's sweating, like bro, man, like, got his boxers on, bro, like in the nudes, you feel me? So he say, what's good? He say, what's up? Look. I said, what you mean, what's up? He said, you know what's up. Bruh, and like, I can see the tears here in the Bible, bruh. You know what I'm saying? I'm a kid, bruh. Just being honest, you know what I'm saying? Nah, niggas be like, oh, boy, niggas wasn't doing, man, nigga, I'm a kid, you feel me? During that time. So I'm reading, I say, man, you gotta kill me, bruh. Boom! That's all I remember, just my whole jaw, everything, my lip. That's why my lip crooked right here. Whole lip came down right here, dog, you feel me? He poked me, that's how I got poked right here, you feel me? Yeah, done stabbed me. And when he stabbed me, if put it like this, if he wouldn't have stabbed me, they probably would have, you know what I'm saying, had their way with me. But when he stabbed me, I felt the pit, like it burned. So I screamed, and the lieutenant came in. So when they heard the door like opening up, everybody ran out. You feel me? And that right there saved me from what could have happened, bro. You know what I'm saying? Cause, bro, just being honest, you know what I'm saying, bro? It was like, it was the most terrifying experience that I got shot in my neck and everything, but nothing was more like frightening for me in my life during that night right there, that one night. So that one night turned me to a monster. I went to hating everybody, bro. And it was up. From that night, nah. Everything I hated, I became, bro. I'm sending hits, getting niggas stabbed up, getting niggas hit with locks and socks, man. I had 6 years. I had to adapt.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? I didn't adapt to the lifestyle of the homosexual, but like everything else, like the stabbings, the locks and socks, the soap and socks, the lock on your finger, bro, I had to adapt to it.
Violence and shit.
Yeah, I had to adapt to it because it's like, this is the only way that I'm gonna survive. I had a homeboy named Devin Barnes. He had 9 days to go home and got killed.
Damn.
Right there, in the child line, a body drop. Come on, bro, imagine seeing this. At that time, I was like 16. Imagine seeing a body drop in prison. You 16 years old and you seeing this, bro. You feel me? So, like, my mind, man, I can't, bro, like, when I came home, man, I thought I was the baddest dude ever, bro. Cause prison, it messed my mind up. You know what I'm saying? Not knowing, these people out here ain't fighting. They shooting.
Yeah.
You feel me? I'm out 2 months, got shot in the neck. See that, though?
Welcome to Breakdown Friday. Joseph Ward, Professor Carl Tone Jones, and the Blazer, and Patrick Irvin, aka Super Pat. We're here to break down the video we just watched of the brother Keith Wallace. So Keith Wallace is a rapper out of Miami, Florida, and a very good rapper. He can rap like Keith Wallace. Keith Wallace can get busy on the mic, like busy. And I first came across Keith Wallace on Facebook maybe a year or two ago. He caught my attention with his music because he was spitting some real stuff. And he was spitting some real stuff from it kind of reminded me like in that lane of like what a Trick Daddy or a Pimp C or a Scarface would do, like that reality raps and things that he's really been through, but he can really rap and he can put it together. He can make you see it in your mind, like tell stories and stuff. So he caught my attention with his talent and his music. So recently I'm scrolling through TikTok, and the videos that we just watched, I saw that, and that's coming from an interview Keith Wallace on the 85 South show. And he's telling his story about basically at the age of 15 years old, he was falsely accused of armed robbery and charged as an adult and sentenced to 6 years in prison. And like I said, he was born in the heart of Miami, Florida. And this is coming in a bio from one of his pages. He said, just like most young black men, he dreamed of leaving his mark on the world. However, one bad decision at the age of 14 took his life on the 6-year detour behind bars. The confinement of prison could not rob him of his dream. In fact, the isolation from society allowed him to fine-tune his skills as a rapper. So you have a young man at the age of 14 who's incarcerated. And according to what he's saying, he's falsely accused and he's incarcerated for 6 years. And when you go to prison, you're exposed to a whole lot of violence. And as he's telling the story, he had to become violent to survive. He had to become violent to make sure that he can wake up the next day. And even just because you become violent doesn't mean that you're going to survive. But overall, listening to him, it made me think about the institutionalization of black men within and without and outside of the penal system. How we have to adapt to our society, but also how we become a victim of this tough guy thing because we put ourselves in a box or we're placed in this box. But and then if you come from an environment where you had to survive, because like Keith is talking about his area in Miami, coming from an environment where you had to survive, where even before you go in at the age of 14, you're in an environment where violence is the norm. Survival is the norm, and manhood is looked at in specific ways that can be labeled as toxic behaviors. So it's almost like within these environments, black male monsters, or the term Hillary Clinton used, super predators are made. But we're looking at this from a systematic approach, though, because once again, these people are made. The behavior is picked up from the environment and the programming that's already been in the environment. Once again, take a look at Who Cloned Tyrone?
Yeah.
And so what he's telling you, Who Cloned Tyrone? He's telling you a real story of that, of how him as the version of Tyrone was cloned. And it's like we really got to look at this. So of course, you know, we got our notes and we want to get into it, but Pat, I want to start with you. Looking at this video, because this is a bit different than what we would normally do, but it's not that different. But overall, listening to Keith Wallace tell his story, what were your thoughts of Keith Wallace's story and just what came to your mind about it?
Well, the very first thought I had was how good it was that he was able to fight through it, but not just him, the entire group. Like the way nobody rushed to console him. Nobody told him it was okay. They just kind of let him work through it and get to it in his own time. And that, you know, and PC can speak more to this, but that's the type of therapeutic environment that Black men need. An environment where, you know, we can just be in a space and allowed to work through it on our own terms. And that part of that piece right there was so powerful and so profound, because oftentimes you do see, especially in videos like this, where people are getting emotional, other people are getting uncomfortable sitting in that space, and they start saying stuff like, it's all right, take your time, take it, which those are not helpful for the person. And when you really understand what's happening, you understand that those things aren't being said to help the person. They're being said to try to quickly transition them into another space because you're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So seeing that man in that space surrounded by other people that allowed him the freedom to be vulnerable and to bounce through it, that was immensely powerful. The next thought I had was so a lot of people don't know this about me, but I used to give speeches at prisons. And when I tell you there's a huge difference in the types of prisons, like the cultures, the environments, I've been to some low security prisons that felt like college campuses. And I've been to some, I haven't ever been to a max, so I can only imagine. But I've been to other types of prisons in that range, and it's been pretty violent and pretty hectic. So a lot of that is where you go. And as I was watching it, I was like, he must have got sent to a crazy place as a 14, 15, 16-year-old boy. That's right. That's crazy. He said they ripped this bunkie out, did what they did to him, and then sent them back in and came back. Like so there was that aspect of it too. Like just thinking about it kind of hit me on that level of going back to my experiences in prison facilities and jail facilities. And then on the third level, it was just, you know, we talk about the institutions all the time and the institutionalization. And that happens. And we talk about it in prison, but we don't really talk about the details of it, how these institutions shape people. And even if we do get into it in terms of prison, we don't get into it in terms of all of the other institutions that we're engaging with. That I see you shaking your head.
Well, just this point, because I want us to think about the institutionalization that Black men get before they go to prison, because there's a certain mindset that some Black men have that actually gets them sent to prison. So you have one negative programming that sets you up to receive another negative programming on top of that, and it's not like it totally replaces it. It reinforces it and can sometimes enhance it.
The systems work together,
right?
And they become a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's a snowball effect. You know, you go to prison to earn your stripes, and everybody's excited about earning their stripes, but nobody really asks what you had to do to get them, what you endured to get them, and what the effects of those stripes are on you. And I say all the institutions because uh, it's easy to see it when we're talking about the institutionalization of the prison system and the violence and all those other things. But all of the institutions that we interact with, the education system, the church system, the military institutions that we interact with, all of these things have a role. So if we're going to talk about um, these institutions on a systemic level, the prison, the talking about the penal system is a wonderful way because people are so familiar with that type of institutionalization. But there are levels of it as well on all fronts. We're all institutionalized.
Right, right, right. That's you landing your plane.
Yes, that's me landing my
All
plane.
right, y'all get off one at a time now. All right, PC. What were your thoughts about the video? You muted.
As we were talking, the police helicopters were circling the area, so I muted had to mute the mic. It's fucking
Right on key,
crazy.
huh?
Right on cue. Damn. You know, I was taught at a very, I won't say young age, but I was taught that there were two things. Like there were two places that if people went there, you never asked them about their experience there. You never asked them to provide details. And that's if people actually have to go off to war, and then people who went to prison. That you don't ask them about what went on in there because they have probably seen some untold horrors that many of us can't relate to. And they had to endure some things. So only time I've heard stories is when they, like I've heard at press conferences when members of the Move 9 here in Philadelphia were released, and Mama Pam Africa and the Move family would invite me to their press conferences at the Student Union down on 52nd Street, and I would hear their experiences. But that's the only time I served. Funny enough, around the time he was in prison, um, I had served as a case manager here in Philadelphia, and one of my roles was to deal with people who were either in jail, people who were on parole or probation, or people who were suffering from substance abusers. And I was to find resources for them. Even visiting the prisons, both male and female. It wasn't necessarily the prisons here in Philly because you didn't get anybody that was in state prison. We only got people who are locked up in county. So, and there's a vast difference between county jail and state prisons. Like if you talk to people, there's like different, like you said, Pat, different levels of incarceration.
Yeah.
Like what you was talking about seemed like more so where white collar criminals go to, in terms of like the golf course, the college course, and they literally, have different terms for that place. But when you talk about the state prisons, you either have the state prisons or the feds and the supermaxes. Those are places that the environment's changed immensely. When I heard the brother's story, and I just want to send my, I want to salute him for surviving, but also, and I want to come back to the part about the mindset that gets us caught up. Hearing that, see, the therapist in me cringes when I see those things. So like, yeah, Pat, I agree. It was good that they let him go through that they let him process that. I hope it was somebody there, and I didn't get to watch the whole interview. I just saw the clip that Joe brought us. That would help him to bring the pieces back together. Because when we talk about breakthroughs, you can tell he was reliving some experiences that he had shut deep down, away into his, we put up walls in our psyche. And those of us who have been through traumatic experiences, supremely traumatic experiences, we put up walls to prevent us from reliving that experience over and over. And as he spoke to it, not being able to speak, that's because when you're awake, your conscious works with your subconscious to maintain that wall. When you go to sleep, your subconscious is in control.
Yep.
And that wall doesn't exist in your sleep. Prisons, we gotta remember, prisons are a European concept. Let's just speak to that. The idea of prisons is a European concept. The country of Australia was a penal colony. That's why you'd always hear about the worst of the worst people in Australia, because they were a penal colony from Britain and other European countries. But in America, the prison conditions, specifically for Black people, it was created based on the same types of dehumanizing tactics that were used during chattel slavery. Yep. And when you think about how, and it's funny because the movie Django showed a few things, right? When Django was going to go get his girl, where was she at? She was locked up in the hole, right? And they introduced the hole to prison cell, to prison. So right after the Civil War was fought and the Emancipation Proclamation and the 13th Amendment, you saw an uptick in the prison populations looking Black, specifically looking to Black men. All those things on the plantation are utilized in jails right now. The loitering, if you have more than 3 or 4 people talking, they have to break up those conversations in fear of a conspiracy, quote unquote. But what I find interesting is that how they utilize other prisoners to maintain a destructive and monstrous culture within the jails. And you have to be a savage in those jails. Like the wardens don't infuse any programming around rehabilitation because the states don't want rehabilitation. They don't. This is a revolving door that's set in place. Keith Wallace wasn't supposed to survive. He was supposed to fall back into that same pattern of behavior, because when, I have family and friends who, when they come home from prison, they're walking around, but you can see them, they walk slower. They're taking in the environment, and it's like a new sense of the new sensibilities are being explored because of the way they had to shut down inside those jails. When I would visit clients in jail, visiting the clients in jail, the shit was so unnerving to me. I couldn't wait to get the hell out. You're talking about an environment that is totally chaotic, out of control. Anything can happen at any moment. That's no place for a 14-year-old to go.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Especially if he only had a 6-year sentence.
Right.
That is how you talk about the programming, because one thing I've heard from brothers who go to jail, especially brothers, when they pair lifers with people who have short-term sentences, prison doesn't become just prison, just a place to lock you down. Not only do they not rehabilitate you, you actually learn to be a better prisoner, because somebody who has nothing to lose is not going to really pour into you about being a better citizen coming back out into society. Somebody who has nothing to lose typically say, oh, see, shorty, this is what you did wrong. This is why you got caught. Let me help you build a bigger and better criminal mousetrap so that you don't get caught up the next time. And see, that is the cycle. And when we talk about it being institutionalized, that's what's programmed. And people become programmed. So when you have people programmed in the prison, when you have them programmed to just on a day-to-day basis just to survive, and then you just push them out those doors, literally with the clothes they were wearing the night they were incarcerated, and whatever shekels that they can earn while they were working for pennies on a dollar, and then you offer them no resources. The goal is to get them back in there. You know, and as crazy as it sounds, him getting his jaw broken probably saved him.
He said getting stabbed. No, he said getting stabbed saved him.
Well,
which is not better.
Right. But I'm just talking about when he got his jaw broke that night.
Yeah, they had to take him.
They had to take him out. But it also, he had to make a decision that night. Am I going to go through this every night, or I'm going to become one of the monsters to be feared up in here?
Yeah. So I've also spent time in the penal system as an educator, going in and giving information, doing classes, and I've done from juveniles to people in prison to the program when they get out and they trying to transition back into the real world, and they got 30 days to get a job. You know, the reentry program.
Yeah, reentry. Yeah.
And you got 30 days to get a job. So at those, when I go to those places, I'll go to the juvenile facilities and I go to the reentry programs. I don't like going to the prisons. I'm not even gonna lie. I don't like going there. Like I said, the last time I went to one, speaking at one, I saw my cousin up in the like, man. And so like at my work email now, we're getting emails to go back into the prisons and, you know, tell them about all, you know, our programs and stuff. And it's like, I just got to get myself. I gotta get myself to that point again, because right now I don't like going, and I don't like seeing black men in that situation. But Keith Wallace was charged as an adult at the age of 14, like you said. So think about it. He literally grew up in prison. And he said out of his mouth that he became institutionalized. He had to become violent to survive. But I want us to also think about, like I said earlier, black men are institutionalized outside of the penitentiary system and inside of the penitentiary system. And when they get out, especially if they haven't done the work to fix themselves, or they don't get a chance, they're going back in. So it's going to be recycled. And we have to understand, like, a lot of black men are broken by the system. A lot of black men become trapped in the system. A lot of black men, we really lose them. We lose a lot of black men because it's like, it's hard to save somebody that the system is set up for them to fail. 30 days to get think about it. Think about it. You just got out of prison. You are a felon, and you have 30 days to get a job. Do y'all do realize nobody wants to hire a felon? Nope. So now in my city, what I've done is I've got connected to a gentleman who can find felons jobs. I found a gentleman who he went out and found a whole group of organizations, jobs, and businesses who hire felons. So we can help some people, but it's like, that's here in Tallahassee. That might not be in your city, but it's like, we have to think about environment and look at the environment that a lot of these black men come up in. especially now we have at least 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 generations of Black men who came up in single mother households. And we have enough information to show that within these households, children have the highest potential of going to prison. So we're talking, and we're just talking to Black men on this. Just talking to Black men. This is just about Black men, but this is also in those situations, Black men making better decisions about who they laying down with. Because when you make a bad decision about who you lay down with, the results could be a child who has to go through the experiences that Keith Wallace is going through. Now, he's seen Keith Wallace, from what I've seen from him, he's seen like he's done a lot of work to help himself get himself to a place to where he's living a legit lifestyle and he's in a better place. Of course, he's still working on himself. Of course, he's still building himself up and healing himself, but he's in a whole better place. And music is his therapy. And music is not only his therapy, music is his gift to the world. And if you go back, if you listen to his music, he's giving game. He's not talking bad stuff. He's not encouraging people to do what he did. And that's the best part about all of this that we have out of Keith Wallace is we have a man who has been institutionalized, but he's fighting against the system. He's fighting against the institutionalization, rather. He's fighting against the programming, but he had help along the way. And so there are a lot of other Black men who are going through the same situations or similar situations that he's gone through, and they need help. They need help. But another thing you all talked on is being in the right environment for Black men to talk about our experiences, especially our traumatic experiences. But I commend him for being able to talk about his experience and being able to give it from a viewpoint of, hey, you don't want none of this prison. That's how he's starting off. Y'all don't want none of this prison. This prison is designed to mess us up. But also, we have to think outside the box, further outside the box than that. If we don't clean up our environments, especially environments that young Black boys come up in, if we don't clean up our environments, you're helping the preschool to prison pipeline. We're helping that happen. We're helping feed our own young boys into the penal system if the environments that they come up in are nothing but training grounds that help them go to prison and become worse. We have to think about that.
Yeah, go ahead, Pat.
I think that's and I hope the brother is getting the therapy he needs in addition to the music. Because like PC said that he was reliving that.
Yes, he was.
And I can speak from experience, you will continue to struggle with telling your story until you have somebody that can help you process telling your story. And that's another reason why I commend him for fighting through it. But I hope in addition to his music, he has a good therapist, the counselor that he can talk to. But on another level, see, this is a kind of a broad scope when we start talking about this particular problem, because it's not only that we have people that are not equipped, being put in situations that they shouldn't be put in, but we also have people who don't really understand it and aren't really trying to do anything because it's profitable. And by that, I'm talking about all those rappers who rap like they from the hood and like they this and like they that, and they're not.
Yeah.
Because if you really look at it, in my opinion, 90 to 95% of the rap game, as far as the mainstream popular guys, are not hood.
So let me add, with that being said, let me ask you all this. Did you see the clip of Michael Irvin basically putting his son on blast? He gave his son, I forgot the rap name of his son, but it basically like my son is out here rapping these dope boy and these thug lyrics, and he grew up in the gated community. Like, we all know Michael Irvin's son ain't grow up like Michael Irvin. It's like my son is rapping my life. So what do you think about Michael Irvin saying that in the public space about his son? Does that help or hurt?
I mean, it helps and hurts. I mean, it helps because it's drawing a spotlight to it, and hopefully delegitimizing his son. But it hurts because your son is only able to do this because at some point you co-signed it, either through apathy or active support. One or the other. At some point, he came to you and said, "Dad, I want to do music," and you said, "Cool." And then next thing we know, he out here producing all this content. And I'm not somebody that's gonna give you a pass on that. Like for your son to get to a point where he has a name and a following, and now you're speaking out, what was happening before then?
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you dad the whole time, or just did you?
Right. Right. Like if my boy was like, "Hey Pop, I'm gonna be a rapper and my name gonna be Go Gadget Killer nigga." And like right there, we stopping that. Nah, bro. Like, first off, no, that the name is horrible. Second off,
what are you rapping?
You don't know nothing about that. And
It'd be
I
like
would
that,
be on I'd be on an active campaign to kill that before it even took off. Hey, look, my son trying to come up with a rap album. Don't support it. I'm telling you right now, before you even find out his name, don't. So, but it hurts. You look at, I mean, we Plies, Rick Ross. We go down the list.
Right. So, and I'm asking that because once again, making sure we are looking at it from what happens before people go to prison and after they get out of prison. But being the worst version of a black man is celebrated, and it can even get you some of the most beautiful women you've ever seen in your life. So it's that lifestyle is incentivized by the music industry, by the communities, by the women, by the men that look up to those people. It's incentivized. So why would, like, how do we combat that if it's incentivized? If I know I can get more clout, more movement, I can have more progress doing this, why would I do this rather than be an upstanding man? PC.
By doing just what Pat said that Michael Irvin should have done. You get involved earlier as a parent, and you pour into your children the necessary values of a proliferated culture. And we go back to culture. It's funny, but you know, everything we do comes back to culture. There's a reason why you don't have the derogatory term for Jewish people being promoted. You know, the K word being promoted anywhere. It's a reason why, even though blacks and Latinos seem to share the word, that we don't use the word when talking and engaging with our Latino people. You know, there's a reason, because their culture won't allow you to disrespect them like that. They actually have a culture that speaks to that. And I'm not saying that they don't have derogatory stuff in their culture.
Every culture does.
Right. But they gatekeep those certain qualities because you want to put some respect on their name. We don't really feel like we have to respect being black. We don't feel like even when people try to utilize our blackness to say you should understand how other people are oppressed because you were black and you were oppressed, we go into this hyper mode of feeling like we need to defend other people that get they get oppressed or discriminated against, without like saying, here, let's take a look at what's happening with us, and let's take a look at how we need to fix this whole leaking, leaking sieve, or this leaking pipe of respect and responsibility in our community for one another and for ourselves. it comes down to the culture. The culture puts boundaries in place that prevent you from disrespecting the culture. And then the boundaries that are in place will protect you from being disrespected from out, people who are outer loafers or whatever you want to call them, who are not a part of your culture. So we have young people out here who feel as though they don't have to follow any rules, they don't have to follow any regulations because they come from parents that don't want rules and regulations. They come from single moms that say, don't police me, my body, my choice. I get to do all kinds of things. They come from fathers that they have to share with like 4 or 5 other baby moms and siblings. All right. But there's no room, there's no rhyme, no reason to a productive culture. In other words, we're hypocrites who consistently say, I'm here to break generational curses while maintaining the generational curses.
Well, look, because that's in my head the whole time as you're talking is, do we really understand the impact of the environments that we create for our children to grow up in?
No.
Because right, because if we did, we would produce better environments. Like you said,
No.
you can't on one end be like, I don't like the condition of my community, but on the other end, you did nothing and are doing nothing and plan on doing nothing to help improve the conditions of the environment.
A bunch of fucking kids. So kids don't like rules.
So
but the same people go to work every day and have to follow rules. They try to find ways to bend them, find ways around them, complain about them, but they still follow rules.
That's the only way a 14-year-old, that's the 14-year-old teenage boys and some teenage girls, but especially our teenage boys, that's how they end up in prison, coming out of environments that are destructive. Pat, you was about to say something?
Yeah.
I was no. Even if we understood, no, because here's the thing, right? Black people understand a lot. We do. We really do. We understand a lot. We even understand how much work it's going to take to do those things that we understand we need to do. That's the problem. We understand the work and we don't want to do it.
It's a responsibility.
Yeah.
And that's the other problem. You start talking about responsibility and accountability, people start acting funny. They cool with the conversation, but when it's time to actually put the rubber to the road, the road get real bumpy and the rubber start peeling off the tires. And then all of a sudden the car is undrivable. Yeah. And I guess we just got to sit here and not do nothing and wait for somebody else to come fix it. But because when you talk to people, they understand. Not even inherently, logically, they understand how music could be a problem. But when you tell them that the music is a problem and they got to stop listening to it, immediately the emotions drive up.
Get offended and get defensive,
right?
And start every excuse that they have, it comes out.
And now it's no longer about doing something that's right for the community. It's about, well, I want to do this. Then you start hearing dumbass excuses like, well, I used to listen to gangster music all the time and I never killed nobody.
But it's not about you, the individual, because you made me think. I remember I was doing a class one day and talking to this 16-year-old, no, the girl probably like 14. And she's bragging about fighting some girl. And because she, according to her, she beat the girl up. You want to know why she fought the girl? Somebody say why.
Why? Hold on, Joe. Hold on, Joe. Why?
Because the girl said she didn't like Gucci Mane as a rapper.
That's enough to get you killed these days.
But don't tell me the music don't have an effect on us when something like this has happened. But we can see, look, I've been in the club and everything was good in the early 2000s until they put that crunk music on, then everything goes to shit. Music, if music don't affect you, why you play music to get in the mood? Why you listen to music in the gym? Why is music used in the church? Why is music used in motivational pieces to help elicit emotions and stuff if music don't have an effect? Music has an effect, but we got to remember too, the music that's being created is a reflection of the environment and vice versa. The environment is a reflection of the music that's being created, and they're both violent and destructive. But at the same time, this is the stuff that we keep promoting. Like when you see the Indianapolis Colts invited Sexy Red to the game. The Pittsburgh Steelers got Glorilla coming around. Come on, man. We are basically saying debauchery is okay. So somebody like Keith, people like Keith Wallace or young boys are going to have to, more young boys are going to go through Keith experience similar to Keith Wallace because we keep promoting the dumb stuff.
Well, and because I'm gonna start and work my way back. We were talking about the work that needs to go into and why we won't do it. If y'all remember, back in January, I started an initiative called Brothers Building Brotherhood with the express purpose of brothers who I personally vouch for being in the same room, one way or the other, be it a Zoom conference or literally in the building, for the purpose of brothers building networks, because we were going to come up on some tough times. Y'all remember that? Y'all were there. So, flash forward. I pretty much am done with this project, or at least this aspect of it. And one of the biggest reasons I have to say is because we do what too many people do. It's like you cool, you got it. Okay, it's cool, you got it. So instead of the brothers deciding to link up and build, even just take down phone numbers from it. I gave out notepads and everything, get everybody's phone numbers. We're down to what, 4 people a week now? With 4 people a session? We started off, it was damn near 40 people in that room. Done 4 people a session.
Man, right? We already knew that was gonna happen though.
Right, but that's the part.
Yo, don't do that.
Why?
We just talked about the therapeutic effect of
lying.
No.
Okay. The irony is, we know the work that needs to be done.
Right.
We just, until people get desperate, ain't nobody gonna fucking do it. And then when you're desperate, it's too late to do the work. And meanwhile, other nations of people are moving and doing their work because they see they're reading tea leaves. The same tea leaves we see.
The frustrating part though is the people who really give a damn, the people who really working to make the community better, get the less of the opportunities, get the lesser of the resources, get the lesser of what they need to actually help make the community better. And these are the people who are left out in the cold. These are the people who are overlooked. These are the people who nobody knows about. But we'll champion somebody who's just talking. Somebody who's just talking can become a whole community leader, can become somebody that people look up to and admire. They're just talking, ain't never done nothing, but the people who are doing the actual work to help make sure that people like Keith Wallace can have an actual better experience in life, those people get no help. They get stepped on and stepped over. And yeah, Black community, we're doing that. We're helping to send out Black boys to prison.
Well, that speaks to the rest of the stuff that I've been writing down since we've been here. First of all, like, and I commend the brother Keith for being that transparent. I commend him for that. I'm what we need for that particular situation, because I'm solutions oriented. We need to have, and we do have them some places, but they're just not accessible to everybody. We need to have a team of brothers who can actually, through coordinated organization and therapy, hold group sessions where we're actually, experiencing group therapy to a place where we can actually start to let people know first and foremost they're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
I was just watching another interview from a brother who was on the other side of this whole conversation. He was one of the brothers that was self-identified as one of the monsters, right? And his wife had asked him, well, if there's so many of y'all were the monsters, what about all the people that you were predators to? What about all the people that you were being a monster to? What were their outcomes in prison? And he was still stuck on that place because unfortunately, a lot of people come out of prison and they're celebrated for being that monster, for being that. I mean, you got the brother out in Detroit, right? I think his name is Nate Kraft or something like that. The notorious hitman.
Yeah.
Everybody is
want to watch
clamoring for
that.
it. Everybody is clamoring for an interview with this dude. And I ain't gonna lie, it's fascinating from a psychological standpoint, but not as from a fan, like being a fan. But when you talk,
Fleece Johnson.
yeah.
Fleece Johnson has a following as well. The Booty Warrior.
And guess what? Fleece Johnson even spoke about the fact that his first sexual interaction was in prison at 14 with men. That's all he knew. But that speaks to, again, needing organized therapy, rehabilitation programs that's actually going to help these brothers transition into to what we can consider somewhat of a normal life, a normal living, to a place where the PTSD doesn't control their lives. But Patrick spoke about something earlier about how the girls are fighting over the rap and how people want to pretend it's not the music. And like I said before, man, we have a bunch of children. Accountability is the last thing that's on their mind. They're just trying to get away with it. And we have 30 and 40-year-old people trying to get away with it, 50-year-old people trying to get away with it, former rappers who were gangster rappers trying to get away with it. I'm just going to, let's call a spade a spade. Yes, I grew up during Luke. I grew up during the birth of NWA. I'm from Philadelphia, where gangster rap was born with rapper Schoolie D, and PSK and all that other shit. Guess what? We were wrong. And so now we have to put a stop to this shit, because the music, I remember in 1997 working with a group of children. It was my first job out of college. And I was working as a therapeutic support staff worker. So basically a glorified babysitter at the time, with alternative students who were kicked out of public school. And something happened. And I think they were talking about a gun jamming. And one of the kids, his name was Roscoe. I'm not going to give his last name, but he said, well, Mr. Carl, like Biggie said, you got to let them shells breathe. I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself at that particular moment, I said, God, we actually got kids out here quoting rappers like they're, philosophers. And it's not like you quoting, KRS-One, after, Scott LaRock died and changed the course of his career, right? Because KRS-One was a gangster rapper too, all right? So it's not like you quote Public Enemy. We all grew up on Public Enemy. They was hardcore. You quoting Biggie. and you quoting him about the proper way to load shells into a clip so that the gun don't jam by letting them
Environment,
shells breathe. It's the
environment,
environment that's
culture.
bred, and it's programming too. Because, like you said, a lot of these children, they were mischievous. They weren't gangsters. They became gangsters when they start trying to live the lyrics of whether it was the lyrics of the music or
The lives of the dope
whether,
boys around them.
well, they got a glimpse. Here's the difference. Prior to the crack cocaine era, the B-boys that was on the block, they would kick your little ass off the block if you didn't belong there. If you had a future, if you were just a silly young boy, they would kick you off the block. They would send you home. When they would go on their missions, you would see them coming back. They wouldn't even tell you when they were leaving. Right? That changed during the crack cocaine era because now you had the influences of modern media. Don't forget The Wire. While it was a brilliant television show, I watched these young bulls from season 4 to season 5. Whenever they focused on the children in The Wire, I watched these young bulls who were on scooters, skateboards, and they were just silly young bulls. I watched them all come out that next summer, walking down the street in white t-shirts and posting up on the corner.
Look, so the music, the TV shows, but I know here, like growing up, the OGs would not allow you to roll with them. But the fact that we still saw what they were doing and the environment was still impacted by what they were doing. But it's like, a combination, because here, like the dope boys played a big part in the culture down here. Like I was on the flag football team that was sponsored by dope. You know what I'm saying?
But Joe, I'm just gonna stop you right there. The organized crime in your neighbor of our communities, not just our communities, Polish communities, Jewish communities, Latino communities, Italian communities, all of those sponsored those little league teams. All of those infused money into those particular things just to save their public image.
Right. Now I get that, but I'm looking at it now from the long-term effect though of the dudes. Like we had a homeboy went to prison, and at the age of 15, we was in 10th grade. He went to prison. We ain't seen him since. We have no idea what happened to Buddy. But looking at the long-term effects, looking at the people that I know who got locked up for dope, and some came out, was able to change their lives, some wasn't, but they all still are starting from behind. They all still have the obstacles. They all still have the scarlet letter on them. But it's just 20 years later, 30 years later, even like all the older dope boys that you can still see, like they not doing good. If they're still alive, and if they're not fiends, they just old men who still can't help the community get better. And it's just the residual long-term effects of all of it is like there are layers to it. There are layers to it. So we're not going to try to do a broad stroke and say all of it look the same, because it doesn't. You're right. There are layers to it. But the overall effect left our community in a bad place. And especially like in the poorer communities, the households were ripped apart. So the kids are vulnerable. And we're, once again, like I've been saying, we can see how it affected young black boys. We can see the mentalities and everything.
Well, and to come back to what you were saying, because I'm not trying to clean it up to say, well, everybody was doing it. I'm not.
No, I know.
Because I do recognize that in those particular cultures, when they did it, there was a separation. First of all, the age gap was different, but also it was one of those things where in those other communities, a lot of those kids didn't look up and say, "Oh, I want to be a gangster," because it wasn't even. I mean, it was modeled to them in a certain way, but not the same way it was to us.
Right.
And it was more attainable in our community because you didn't have to go through no process to get made to be a gangster in our community. All you had to do was do, we get to, right. You know what I'm saying? It was an easier transition. And you're right. And there was, let's not forget too, though. This is by design.
Yes. Yeah. That's the root of
by
it.
Design.
And that's what I want people to get overall. That's why I want us to look at institutionalization inside the penal system and outside of the penal system. All of this is by design to make sure that we destroy ourselves. It's the cloning of Tyrone. It's the niggerizing of black people. That's what is happening.
Yeah, and it is, and I agree. But I also don't want Negroes to get comfortable with that.
Right.
Because the view has to be like there's only a small group of people that really need to understand that it was by design. If we're being honest about it. The masses don't need that because that becomes an excuse not to do shit for the masses. In my opinion.
It is used as an excuse. Racism is racism that. But basically, like we always said, they spilled the milk. We got to clean it up because damn it, it's in our house.
Right. So my thing is, unless you are in a position where you are actively game planning to figure out how to stop it on a cultural level, your behaviors are going to be the same whether it's by design or not. You need to set up, if you can't control the environment totally, which we can't, you can't control what you can control in the environment and implant various therapeutic forces into that environment to combat some of those institutional forces that are going to push people in a certain way. That means that for the average family, in my opinion, that looks like, okay, my kid goes to school and they spend all their time hanging around other kids that are probably listening to crazy music, Sexy Red and all of the other ones, and cursing and carrying on and being sexualized, hypersexualized, and all of these other things are happening around them. Okay, I can't control the environment at the school, but when they come home, I can set up an environment that does its best to counteract what they just spent 6 hours in the middle of. And that counteracting doesn't mean we pretend like that 6 hours didn't happen. I talked to my kid about the 6 hours that happened. I put it in perspective. I give them the tools they need to be able to maneuver in any space that they're in while retaining their own identity. That means now I get them thinking and I get them processing on a level of thinking that's higher than everybody else is around them. And that's not complicated to do. It just takes the effort and the desire to do it. First level of thinking is simple, me. Second level, okay, there's me and you. Third level, there's me, you, and we have a relationship. You keep expanding it out. Fourth level, oh, there's you, and y'all have a relationship. Fifth level, okay, there's you, and you, and all of y'all have a relationship, which influences all of them, which influences me. If you can get your kid to be able to think on these higher levels where they can piece things together, you don't have to combat things you can't combat. Like as parents, and that is something as parents that we can do, because that's not something that requires skills that we don't inherently have. Like you can sit back, you can read books, you can analyze, and you can gain the ability to think on a higher level. You don't need anybody to teach you that once you hit a certain maturity level.
It takes will, though. Like you said, we can fight back better and we can do better in our communities. But like you said, it takes the will, it takes people to want to do it, to get out and do it. Like I said last week, those of us who have access to resources go into the communities and link up with the people and help out. Find the people in the community doing the real work and make sure they can get the resources and the opportunities and the help that they need.
Well, people got to want to. Like you said, the will. I think the will starts with the want first. And Black people have too much fun in the gutter. The gutter is a fun place to be. There's no rules. There's no regulation. We're the first people to say, I don't want to be judged. And, you know, and when soon as it's something that needs judgment, we don't, then all of a sudden, you know, the tears start flowing, the river work start flowing. Listen, it comes down basically like, do you give a fuck about your children? Not just saying it, not just buying them whatever the hell they want. Do you actually care about their outcomes?
Right.
Do you care about the environment they come up in? Or do you only get concerned about it when the threat comes home? Do you only get concerned about it when the cops come knocking at your door to come pick up your son or go pick up your daughter and take them away because you weren't good enough in your parental duties to put them at least in the mindset to not get caught up in no criminal shit? And I ain't saying nobody's perfect, right? But it happens too often for us to say this is not a systemic problem in our community. Yeah, we didn't create the system, but we're the fucking hamsters that's running the hamster wheel that's fueling the results that's taking place right now. And anytime we want to, we can fix this situation, but we have to want to. We have to stop getting into a place where we want somebody else to do our job because we want to party and bullshit.
That's the purpose of the programming.
Right. But if we are, and then, you know, so past the wanting part, are we capable? Because we've been speaking about something else for a long time, and that is the chemical effects or the effects, the neurological effects of being in communities where your water is being poisoned, where your food is being poisoned, and then you inertly resort to substances that are poison to you, that inebriate you to a point where you can't think clearly about the situations and circumstances that are currently going on. There's a reason why in our community, most of us can't seem to get past the mature levels of a teenager. Like we haven't progressed past puberty collectively as a people. And therefore, every time we talk about this, somebody is insulted, or somebody is picking and choosing a way to move the goalposts. This comes down to every family. No matter how you built your family, you created it. No matter the circumstances, whether it's a two-parent household, single household, everybody has something to do with how it got there. If we are not at that place where we can be critical about our own thinking, like Patrick was saying, that's what he infuses into his sons. How about people take that same concept, that same thought process, and infuse it in their day-to-day mindset? Because just because you're grown, just because you're an adult, don't mean you're grown.
Right.
And too many of us feel as though we're beyond reproach. But when it comes down to it, the solutions, we like to throw the word "they" out there a lot. They need to fix this. They need to do something about this. Well, what about you? What are you doing to fix this? You can't tell me nothing. I'm grown. Right. Here we go with this bullshit. You know.
Look, check this out though. Doing a class yesterday, and about 6 ladies in the class, all single mothers. Black men are responsible for at least 3 of the 6 babies in them. And women are black and white. Black men are responsible for at least 3 to 6 babies. And all 6 of the women expressed that none of them were trying to make a baby. It just
Just
happened.
practice it. It's
No,
practice.
but it's like we got to, because we're talking to the men. What do you mean you wasn't trying? Okay, I get it. You wasn't trying, but you wasn't not trying either.
No, that don't work like that, Joe. We
Because
know that.
look.
No, I'm just saying it ain't no you wasn't not trying to. Did you nut raw inside? Did you shoot the club up?
That's what I was.
Yeah, you was
Hey,
trying.
man, let me say it.
No, because you wasn't not trying. No, you was trying.
That's what I'm saying. Let me say it. Damn it, I want to.
Sorry.
I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it better than he said. Hey, who told you to nut in her? Who told you to go raw? Nobody. If you go raw and you bust off inside a woman, what the hell you think gonna happen?
That's how babies are made. Maybe they didn't get the birds and the bees from their parents.
Man,
no, they got it from their homie.
Some of these dudes, this is just the latest baby they've had. So you know how babies are made. But it's the mindset of I'm gonna have sex with a woman unprotected. I'm not gonna pull out, and then I'm gonna be surprised if she get pregnant. What the fuck?
You know, as long as you're allowed to play dumb, people will continue to play dumb. And you know, as long as you're allowed to play. And this is why I always speak to women, because women are the gatekeepers of sex. Unless, you know, somebody grapes you or takes it, which these days it could be, I don't even want to get into those different scenarios of how many different ways that go. But the bottom line is there's no way. I've never heard of a person who is abstinent having a baby. And I've had this conversation with other people talking about people want to have sex for fun. I said sex is for procreation. If we want to be responsible about it. Now, people do it for fun and recreation. Okay. But one of the parameters of sex, the purpose, the biological drive to have sex is to procreate, have children. That's the biological drive. That's why at certain parts in your life, when you are the healthiest, men have the most sperm and women have the most eggs. And there's a reason why that at certain points in your life,
you want to let
people become less controlled by their libido. So unless you're one of those late bloomers who didn't get the message, and because you just became popular, I don't know, maybe you just got a job making $50,000 and you just became popular or something. Or, you know, that's how sex works. Ladies, this ain't a game. You bragging about having 100 bodies. That's just 100 sex partners. How many times with each partner are we bragging about? And it seems to keep coming to this because all of this shit is connected.
Look,
all of this is connected.
The environment, the child, that's the key thing we hitting at today. The environment the child grows up in matters. So you can't just be going out here just having sex and making babies all willy-nilly and just hoping everything turns out. So if you are an adult who went through trauma in your life, and especially if you grew up in a disadvantaged household because of decisions that your parents or your grandparents made, and then you are continuing that, so the experiences that you had, especially the negative experiences that you had, didn't deter anything, and you create a child who potentially have to go through similar experiences or maybe even worse experiences. You can't just be out here just making babies. Men, when you ejaculate and that sperm come out, it's a good chance you could make a baby if you do that inside of a woman. And guess what? We have to fight so no more black boys have to go through the experiences Keith Lee went through. I mean, Keith Wallace went through, Keith Wallace. But the problem is, as we speak right now, there are too many black boys going through the experience that Keith Wallace went through. Too many as we speak right now.
I just want to say this real quick, and then I'll be done. If you just want to have sex for fun, and then you need to get fixed. If you're a dude, go get snipped. If you're a female, get your shit cut, tied, burned, and removed if need be. Get a full-on hysterectomy. Get all that ripped out. And then you can have as much sex as you want. I mean, you still got to worry about STDs, but then, I mean, that's obviously not the concern to begin with.
Right.
Right.
So just go get snipped. Go get fixed. Problem solved.
Yep.
Yeah. And I want to bring it back to where we started at. This whole environment that we're in is it was designed to create super predators because you extracted it of all of its resources. You put shrinkage gentrification in place. You created a prison industrial complex. You created nuisance laws and policies. You created the 3 strike rule in many states. You created mandatory minimums. You created the 1994 crime bill. I'm not going to let this Caucasian off the hook for the condition to put black people in. But black people, understand something. It is still your job to fight. Men, it is still your job to be warriors. Because when you lay down for this shit, you become a bitch. And you will be insulted if a man calls you a bitch to your face, but you don't mind walking on for all fours during your day-to-day strife. And I say this to the men because at the end of the day, no matter if we live in a matrifocal society, matriarchal society, gynocentric society, no matter what society we live in, history is going to remember what the men did when the chips were down. And with that, war and peace. Because if you want peace, you better be willing to wage war for it.
Some of these things we complain about, it's right there for us to fix. It's on us to fix anyway, because we the ones got to live in the environment. We the ones got to deal with it. People who are genuinely concerned with fixing the community work together for the better good of the community. Put your ego aside. If you're a person who is in the community and you're not getting resources, do what you got to do to get resources, link with people with resources. But if people are trying to work with you, don't be difficult. Somebody may have something that idea that's different from yours, and unless it's just totally sabotaging against your ethics and morals and what you stood for. But we can't be difficult with each other. We have to find the best ways for us to cooperate and work together to be able to help the community. I find too often people with the resources fighting amongst each other to be the number one person with the resources, to be the big dog in the room, to be the most celebrated and all these things. You have to remember the community at the end of the day is suffering from this. Our black boys are suffering from this. Put your ego to the side, get your ass off your shoulders, and we got to work together. Codes of conduct. Go to www.thepactsinc.org, THEPACTSINC.org. I have codes of conduct there. And we're not saying these are the ones that we have to run with, but it's a start. Start implementing codes of conduct and living by the codes of conduct, and let that dictate the culture that we exist in. And we can start to see things better. But we have to do it. It's on us to do it. I mean, it's right there. It's right there. I've seen it in small pockets here in Tallahassee. When the community comes together, they can turn around a section of the community, a section of the neighborhood, and it can get better, and it can be more and more and more. If I can see it here, I know we can see it other places. It's just on us. We got to do what we got to do. So let's stop bullshit. Joseph Ward, Professor Carl Tone Jones with the Blazer, Super Pat. We in here, FetLifeStation.com, FetLifeStation.com, 7 p.m. Make sure you check it out, link in the bio. And share this video, comment, like this channel if you haven't already. What else you supposed to do? Share, like, comment, subscribe, all that. Do what you need to do. Support us, support us, support us. Look, we're at 49K, almost to 50K. Need y'all help to get to 50K. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. If you know somebody and they ain't subscribed, have them subscribe. If you're watching this and you ain't subscribed, subscribe and hit that like button. Hit that like button because that help the algorithm. Catch y'all next time.